Search engine says, what is the difference between Mastermind and Heavy Hitter Club? Is one more appropriate to join than the other, or should I join Mastermind first and then move to the Heavy Hitter Club? Well, that's a good question. Heavy Hitter Club is technical SEO, everything about technical SEO, whether it's local, regional, national, global, affiliate, whatever. The Mastermind is mainly local SEO when we talk about SEO, but it's more than just that, because we talk about, prospecting and sales and operating a business and outsourcing and, all that like I said, building processes and systems. And we've got many masterminds that we host in there and all that other kind of stuff. So it depends on where you're at. What you need the most is what we would suggest. If you need strictly technical SEO, like everything that you could ever want to know about SEO, Marco and Rob and Heavy Hitter Club are great for that. If you need, all I talk about in the mastermind is local SEO, because that's all I do. And then all of the other stuff that I do for my business, like lead gen and, prospecting and sales and all that kind of stuff. So whatever's most appropriate for you and your specific needs at this time, that's what you should join.
We share case studies in the Heavy Hitter Club, but it's not as if we're focusing on local or if we're focusing on regional or global or whatever. We're just focusing on case studies and how we can influence our case studies through the math that's available. A lot of people will tell you that the algorithms are math and there's math involved. Who doesn't know that? Who doesn't know at this day and right where we are right now and in this day and age that it's math, that Google is calculating a score for every page on the web, whether positive or negative, whether Google is adding or subtracting. Well, that's where we don't know, but we do know that it is adding or subtracting. And so what we can do through our case studies and through all of the different things that we do, because we get into content, we get into schema, we get into entities, we get into every aspect of what we understand about Google's algorithms and how you can then use those to rank in Google. So we use Google to rank in Google, and then we extend that, because if we understand the math and how that's being applied and approached at that level, we can extend the math to other places. We use Press Advantage a whole lot. It's one of the things that we use. So how can we then apply what we know to Press Advantage, to our GMBs, to the way that we silo, to the G sites and other places? So maybe an S3 bucket. How does that apply in an S3 bucket? Or how does that apply? We're doing it in Syndication Academy. For example, we're showing you how to make your profiles and everything else more powerful, how to make it better, because you cannot, and this is something that people need to understand, you can no longer just have a link out there and expect that link to provide power, the same kind of power over time. At some point, it's going to have nothing. It's going to provide no power. So you have to account for that. You have to account for that atrophy. And you have to understand how, because if that link isn't, like I was telling Muhammad, if it's not related to anything else, if you haven't bothered to hook that up to anything else, then all it is some orphan shit out in the middle of nowhere that's not related to anything, and it's starving. Unless you feed it and you give it a family, it's going to continue starving until it dies. That's the way that the algorithm is set up. So we understand that, and then we go and we apply what we understand that, while at the same time avoiding the traps that are set up every step of the way, because there are algorithmic traps that you can fall into. That's the difference. And like Bradley said, he's focusing on local. He's focusing on his lead, things that I will not get into, because to me, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in being the best marketer or whatever. My focus is to manipulate Google into giving me the results that I want. That's what I focus on. That's what we focus on in the Heavy Hitter Club, while Bradley's focusing on, to me, it's more like his overall business, how he builds his overall business and all of the different things that he does to build his business. It's not that we don't share SEO in the mastermind, because whenever I do my mastermind, I will answer. It's called Ask Marco Anything, and you can ask me any question, whether it's marketing, whether it's SEO, just whatever it is, and I'll try to answer it. If not, I'll go look for an answer. So I'm not going to say that one is right or wrong for you. You have to decide, as Bradley said, what stage of your development you're in to see where you fit in best and what your interests are to see where it is that you fit in best. There's no right or wrong. You're going to win with either one.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I want to expand just on one thing you just mentioned, Marco, too, was about orphan pages as well. And that's absolutely true. And I found out the hard way that a lot of those guest posting services where you go out and you pay hundreds of dollars to get a fucking link from a guest post published on some blog, and they sell you on the metrics of the blog, which I didn't care about metrics for many years. I've started using them a little bit more recently because I've been focusing more on organic stuff and link building and such. But they'll sell you on, this domain has domain authority or whatever, and page authority or whatever, and they'll might give you the trust flow metrics and the citation flow metrics or the Ahref metrics, which is domain rank and that kind of shit, whatever. And they'll sell you on, and sometimes they're hundreds of dollars for one post with one link. And I've paid for them. I spent between, I don't know, $2,000 and $3,000 on over the course of about 3 months on links from a guest posting service that were selling you on the metrics. Come to find out that those are orphaned pages. In other words, they'll publish a guest post on that site that they just sold you for $300 for one post, but there won't be any internal links on that entire site that goes to that page, that post. So you end up with a 0 citation flow, 0 trust flow link that you paid $300 for one fucking link. And it drives me. Can you tell I'm irritated? Because I spent literally thousands of dollars on links to find out that only probably about 20% of them had any benefit from the domain metrics that they sold me to begin with. And found out by doing a little bit of research that that's a pretty common problem with people selling guest post services. Like it's a scam. And there's a lot of people out there selling a lot of guest posts, and they sell you on these metrics, and then it's an orphan page, which means it's a page that's published on that domain, but it has no internal links from anywhere on the site to that page. So it's basically a worthless link unless you pound that guest post away, build a shit ton of links to that, but that defeats the purpose of it to begin with, right? If you go buy a guest post that you pay several $100s for, it's supposed to be because you're going to benefit from the internal link juice from that site. If it's 0, if it has no benefit from the domain that it's published on whatsoever, and you have to build links to that guest post to power it up, then why don't you just place an article on a Web 2 and do it, right? It's the same thing. You don't have to pay anything for the Web 2, So I'm sorry, Mark. I could rant about this till the end of time.
No, you're right, because all you're doing is actually boosting them.
That's right.
Rather than the overall website boosting you, unless they link to you. This is what I was just talking about with the distance graph algorithm. Google has gotten really sophisticated. People have learned to get around it, and they sell you on a dream. And you're better off that $200-300 a pop. You're better off paying for tier link building from Dedia.
I agree.
And getting results from what do you call it? From his assets.
Yep.
Because those are relevant, at least. They'll have relevance, and they will have been there over time, because he's been building this for years and boosting it for years. So you get the overall effect of his network, not just the link building run that he does.
Yeah, what I found, guys, is focus on content, produce really good content, and then do that for your tier 1 links as well. Like that's if you treat your tier 1 links like it's money site content, you've won half the battle. It's more than half the battle. And then you can do all of the other sorts of link building that we've talked about over the years to tier 1, right? So tiered link building to your tier 1 links through the SEO Shield, through your G site, through syndication network properties, through press releases, through your Press Advantage organization page, through all of those. Shit, you can go out and set up individual Web 2s if you want, but publish tuned content on them that's well optimized. And now you've got another link building target. Branded is great, but you can even do it on like themed Web 2s that aren't even branded if you wanted. And still, those become much better, much more powerful assets than buying a guest post from some bullshit guest post seller that doesn't, that basically is selling you a bunch of crap, right? You end up with a page that's worthless. And you could have spent, like Marco said, spent those $300 on really good content or link building to existing assets that you've already had set up and optimized. So end of rant.